everyone. David here, co-host of Self-Sufficient You, and another episode of our podcast. I'm really excited today to have Margarita Weaver with us today. Margarita is a holistic registered nurse and coach. Is that correct?
That is, yes. Yes, it is.
So nice to have you here, Margarita, and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
So whereabouts are you located?
So I live in southwestern Ontario in Canada. Yeah, on the shores of Lake Huron.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Grand Bend-ish?
Ish, yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. We have members from across Canada, so it's always nice to have people from all over. So, can you tell us a little bit about what you do? Because you're a holistic registered nurse, which is a term that I don't often hear. So I'm curious for you to explain a little more about what it is and how you do it.
Sure, sure. Yes. So I've been a registered nurse for nearly 30 years. And I had some troubles, I guess, in my working life, personal life. I don't know, about 7, 8 years ago. And I was in the rat race. I was doing a really stressful job in management, raising my kids, taking care of my elderly parents, being married, working on my master's, doing all those things. And the one thing that I told people what they should do is take care of themselves, and I really was not doing that for myself. So long and short of it, I quit my job and I started my journey of taking care of myself, learning how to meditate, doing energy work like Reiki, um, all those kinds of things that really to be well-rounded, to have well-being, I really believe a lot of people need, and certainly I did need it in my life. So I started my journey of learning how I can help others to do that too. So I became a certified holistic nurse coach, and that's not coaching nurses, that's coaching everyone. And that's where I started my journey. So there isn't a lot of us, especially in Canada, around. So I am, in a sense, a trailblazer. I started my own business. And even these modalities that I do teach and work with are thousands of years old, it's not something that is really, around in the healthcare system.
Yeah, I want to say that the kind of care that you do is actually conventional medicine. The hospital world and that other system is the unconventional one, but we often
Mhm.
think of it
Mhm.
the other way. I want to take you back a little bit to what was the real reason why that inspired you to kind of, like you said, get out of that rat race? Was it just for your own personal health, or was it for something else?
Yes, it was my own personal health. I couldn't do it anymore. At the time, it felt like I was being pushed out. It felt like I was stressed out. I was at a roadblock. I just couldn't continue. And now, I mean, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it really led me to what really matters, what really helps to prevent dis-ease, what really helps well-being. The medical system, as we know it, the conventional one, is important. I mean, of course, if you have some deadly illness or acute infection, I still work a little bit in home care. I still do that. And it's not that I don't believe it, but it's only a piece of the pie of a whole person. And it's, in some ways, it keeps us kind of sick. Of course, we do need it. And I always had a passion in preventing illness. I was in public health. I got my master's in public health. Um, but we really don't practice it like we need to.
I guess you were working in a hospital setting before, I'm assuming.
I was not in a hospital setting, I was in public health.
Okay.
Um, so I was managing at the end, but I did do frontline. I had did anything from um, doing home care visits for new moms, family planning, those kinds of things.
Did you find that, to put it mildly, that you just felt handcuffed? You felt frustrated? You wanted to help people in a, you wanted to help them wholly, not just one little slice of maybe what you were allowed to do. Is that kind of it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Whenever you work in a hospital or agency, or they have their own agenda, and you only have enough time to do such a little bit of things. And it's really, they put the emphasis on the skills. And of course, you want a registered nurse to know how to do wound care and do those skills. Of course, you do. But the art of nursing is really listening to I call them client or patients. And there's so much that as individuals, strengths that we have, that if we had just someone walking alongside with them, and pulling that out, they actually feel so much better, and don't get us sick.
Yeah, the system, as you know all too well, is I won't even say good. I won't even qualify it, but it's designed to treat the symptoms precisely and diagnose certain things. But it certainly is not well trained or emphasized or even allowed to talk about how we to avoid it to begin with, right? Prevention, and then when we do when we aren't as healthy as possible, and we're in a mode of healing as opposed to being sick, but we're healing ourselves,
Mhm.
doesn't really help us, as an organism, from mentally to physically to heal itself, and looking at root causes, right?
For sure, for sure. Mhm.
I speak with and I've spoken with a lot of people in the industry who, just like your situation, who are kind of frustrated and fed up because the reason why you got into it in the first place was to help people, and then you get into a career, and then sometimes it's early on, or sometimes it's later on, you realize that this is not the reason. I'm not doing what I'm passionate about. If you're at a managerial level, I'm sure you're bogged down 80% with bureaucracy and
Mhm.
20% just trying to actually help people, not always succeeding.
Yes, yes, yeah. I really thought when I went to management, I could make a difference and make some changes, but no, no, it did not work that way at all. Yeah.
So welcome to the light side.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your new business, or I guess it's not that new. It's been around, I guess, for a few years. Talk a little bit about the various services that you offer.
Yeah. So my main service is coaching, which is different than therapy. I'm not a therapist, although I am doing under my registered nurse license. And the biggest difference is really working with, walking alongside the client to work on what they feel is important, getting to know them, spending time with them, drawing out their strengths so they can build upon those strengths, um, building some connection, and really promoting self-care, how they want to work on it. And if they are wanting to work on their spirituality side, their energetic side, I do Reiki. Um, I can either teach them, or we can do meditation, mindfulness, gratitude, learning about journaling, um, learning how to set intentions and just kind of change your mindset. So it's just more positive. So you can cope whatever is coming to you. and you just feel so much better. And the amazing thing is, if the person feels so much better, then they're just able to send that light out to their family, their friends, their work, society. It's amazing.
I mean, what you described, and I guess the process and the way that you work with someone, even just listening to some of the words that you're saying, you walk with someone. As you're talking, I was thinking back to a traditional, a typical session with a nurse or a doctor, and you never hear those words. We're going to walk together. I'm going to walk with you, or, and then even the what you do. You talked about the spirituality side. You talked about some of the modalities you use, like Reiki and journaling. No medical person has ever mentioned that to me ever. It's typically, in my experiences, walk in, you're there because you've expressed a symptom. It's not there to prevent. It's there because you need something dealt with, and maybe there's a quick test involved. Often there's a prescription for a medication, and then see you later. What you're describing is way more than what I think most people are used to, and I'm glad you said it and said it that way, because people only know what they know. They often don't know that this is even possible, even available, particularly from a registered nurse. So I'm really happy to see you, and I know there's others out there in the same boat who, typically are fed up with the system and are finally doing what they really love to do in this way. And this is the way which really is helpful to people. This is where they get sustainable results.
Oh yes, yes, for sure. You summarized that up very, very well. Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
your typical client like? These days or over the past, say, few years, have you noticed a pattern in the type of people, or maybe their complaints or symptoms that they're looking to correct?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people dealing with a lot of grief, and the grief could be a loss of a loved one. Um, but just also a grief of what they thought their life should be, and where they are, and they're kind of feeling stuck. And just helping them really open up to what they need to do and get unstuck, and really kind of discovering themselves. Sometimes we're so conditioned to be a certain way from how we were raised, or from our school or religion, whatever, and we don't even really know ourselves. So it's just helping them really learn themselves.
I think a lot of people have discovered themselves over the past 3 to 4 years, um, uh, whether it was easily or through a massive kick in the pants, where
Yeah.
they've just been jolted out of their routine, I guess. It's almost
Mhm.
like a zombie-like existence of going to the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job, for 30 years. And like you said, you kind of live on autopilot and kind of subconsciously, and don't really know your purpose or who you are. So um, yeah, I see a lot of people like you're doing something finally that you're really passionate about, and other people have changed course and who are struggling with, maybe their purpose, or like you said, a lot of grief. Grief. When the grief you're talking about, is it personal grief for themselves, or is it like, say, a family member has passed away, or that kind of grief, or a bit of both?
I would say a bit of both, a bit of both. But I have been noticing a lot, especially as we've lived through the pandemic. There's been a lot of grief and a lot of I guess trauma that we've gone through over the last few years, and also what you talked about, this awakening that people are starting to wake up to. There is more than what they are currently doing, and you know the purpose that they they have in this world. Mhm.
So someone who wants to work with you, say, from a grief perspective, or maybe it's anything else, is there a typical process that you take them through?
Yeah, so I do in our first visit is an in-depth assessment. So I really do ask them a lot of questions. It's a lot of dialogue, just getting to know them and getting to know what they want to, really work on. And sometimes they don't even necessarily see me because they think they have grief. They've heard of Reiki and maybe want a little bit of balancing, which is great. Um, but they haven't even realized what is kind of underlying with that. And that's often what happens in their very first visit, is this having an understanding, and with dialogue they understand what they want to work on and need.
So someone comes in and they probably don't even know how to they probably don't even have a label for it, right? Typically. So I doubt that someone's going to walk in and say, "Oh, I want some Reiki because of this." They probably come in and say, "I've been depressed lately," or "I have aches and pains here." Like it starts off with some kind of symptom, right? They don't even know what
Yeah.
the possible solutions may
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, they might just feel a little bit unbalanced and just want some support that way. Yeah, yeah.
So it was mostly kind of the trauma and the grief that you're seeing lately.
Yeah, that's generally what I have been seeing, and just no knowledge of or importance of self-care, real self-care. That is so, so important. And doesn't matter what you're going through, whether it's, terminal cancer, or you got a headache, or having a hard time at work. If you take care of yourself, if you take time to connect with your breath, to slow down and build up your toolbox of things that you can do for yourselves, have connection, especially to nature, to people, you really can get through anything.
What are some of the things that we can do? You mentioned one, like even just learning how to breathe properly. What are maybe some tips that you have that people can easily do, whether at home or wherever they are, just to kind of get into more of that kind of a practice of self-care?
Mhm. Yeah, do you want to do like a 2-minute little meditation?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So this is what I would do often with people. I would just ask them to just get their feet underneath them and get comfortable where they are, and take a nice deep breath in and out. And there's no right way or wrong way of doing this. We all know how to breathe. So just breathe. And you can do this anytime and anywhere. And if you feel like you're comfortable enough, if you want to just put your hand on your heart and just imagine breathing from that heart. And you are safe and you are enough. So what was that? Have we even done this a minute? Are you feeling any differently?
I don't know. It's probably been 30 seconds, but I feel 100% better already.
Yeah. So you
Thinking
can do
about
this
that.
anywhere, anytime. You just take the time to breathe.
And I'm aware of because we have very good friends who are into breath work, and when I first learned of it a few years ago, I learned that I was a horrible breather. Imagine that. One thing we're designed to do is breathe, and my breathing is usually just quite shallow all the time. I never take the time to take deep breaths, and when I do, I get a lot of immediate results, like I just did right now.
Mhm.
I bet you there's a lot
Yeah.
of people in the same boat. We're just used to shallow breathing, and need to take the time to be more conscious and really work on the depth of the breathing and all the benefits we get from that.
Yeah, again, it's just getting into your body, and it just takes seconds. Just takes seconds for you to acknowledge you have a body here and you're allowed to breathe. Mhm.
So, in terms of some of the Reiki you mentioned and dealing with the trauma and the grief, what are some other services that you offer?
Yeah, so I've just been embarking and going into nursing homes or long-term care facilities. Um, I have done self-care practices or like information sessions for the staff, which really excites me. The caregivers is an area of the population that really excites me to help because we're often a very hard group to help because we're the helpers. And that's very close to my heart because of what I've been through. And I'm just going through a pilot project where I'm with the residents in teaching, not teaching because they're all seniors and very experienced, but meditation, mindfulness, and gratitude. So that has been very exciting for me to do that. Um, I do have by my home a lot of bonfires where I do energy work, where we gather and do meditation, and that's quite peaceful and it's connection. I have run walking groups and meditation groups too, so it's not just individual.
So, you're
Mhm.
working with seniors, right?
I have just started, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Um, because I feel like that's a part of the population, obviously, that is so vulnerable and
Mhm.
have been mistreated, misguided,
Mhm.
and misinformed uh,
Mhm.
for so long compared to us who are younger. So they've been suffering the longest. And when you think of the sick care industry, they're the biggest victims of it in most cases. And I really love what you said about working with the seniors, going in and exposing them to meditation. I bet you, do you feel that sometimes some of them haven't even heard of what that is before, or never ever have even done it themselves?
Yes, yes. Although some of them have strong religion practices, and prayer is a part of a meditation. So just bringing that again to um, that is their strength, and that's something that some of them are forgetting to do, that they had that in their lives and they're no longer doing it now that they're in a nursing home. So that can be a meditation for some people. So
Even
it's just quantifying actually what they've done something to get to these 80, 90, 100-year-old ages, right? So just kind of reminding them and pulling those strengths back to them.
even just doing things like putting on some sound therapy music
Yes.
for them, like you said, doing some meditation, doing more natural activities. I don't want to say
Mhm.
healing, but I mean, it can be healing because
Mhm.
I find that that segment of the population, particularly if they're in some kind of care home, whether it's independent living or anything more advanced than that, and most of them are on, medication and have some kind of illness of some sort, and rarely are they getting advice, information on some alternative care and therapies. It's always, like, you walk into some of these places and there's a dozen pill jars that they're taking every day. And, you know, I talk from experience with our own family and having been blessed to care for one of our grandparents, is just introducing some of these different healing methods to them, and as opposed to the same old medications and everything else that are important, but there are other things too that can be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our last session, we were talking about gratitude, and I was talking about how you can have a negative attribute like pain, and if you can put on a different lens and have some your blessings from it, how much that can change. And absolutely, if you need pain medication, I'm not saying that this is an absolute replacement. And a couple of them were like, yeah, I do that. And one person was just like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And at the end, she was just so grateful. And I'm like, yeah, you have pain. So you know you have a body, that you have pain, and maybe you overdid it yesterday and that's why your hip hurts more. So today, that's a reminder that you need more love. You need to take better care of yourself. And just having that change of heart that, thank you, hip, for reminding me that I do need more love and I do need more care. And I need to rub it and I need to whatever, move around or not move around so much. Just those reminders that pain can bring to us. And I could just see the relaxing of that different way of thinking. It was amazing.
Do you find that like seniors, and I'm talking very generally here, but because they grew up at a time where, don't show a lot of emotion, just stick through it, plow through, keep it going, onward and upward, stiff upper lip, all those kinds of sayings.
Yes.
That even in their senior years, 70s, 80s, and 90s, that they never really, again, I'm talking very generally here, didn't develop those self-care attitudes and skills because no, every day I just got to be productive. I got to fight through it, and listening to your body and being gentle to yourself was maybe seen as weakness.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. We've forgotten that we're a whole person, that we're not just about doing stuff and getting things done, that we're not just task oriented people. We do have physical bodies, which most people know. I think most people can feel their bodies, but just knowing that we have emotions and not, they're there for a reason, and not to stuff them down, because they will come out and at one time or not if you don't deal with them. And we're energetic bodies too. And it's really important to have that connection to other people and to your own self, and just take the time to taking care of yourself is going to make everything better.
Which
And
was
for
really
sure, they're, as seniors, they've been conditioned that just keep going no matter what, even though your body says you need to have a rest. And if they actually did do that, they would get more done, or they would have less pain. They would be as well, feel better for sure.
and even on the mental health side, how you described it, being social. Just think about, having been not able to visit friends and families, when those ridiculous lockdowns happened over the years. Not that that was difficult on us, but imagine grandma, grandpa, you know, um, not able to visit them not being able to go across the hall in their home and visit their friends or play cards on a Friday afternoon,
Yes.
because at that age, boredom can set in, right?
Yes,
And depression can result, and then of course their health can deteriorate. So I find it with that segment of the population even more, but for everyone, having purpose and having regular social activity, and having a reason to get up in the morning, that's just one of the fundamentals of life.
for sure, for sure, for sure. I mean, my mom is still alive and she's in a long-term care facility. She has dementia. And during the pandemic, no one was allowed to see her for 3 months. She wasn't allowed to have any visitors. In her nursing home, she was allowed to kind of wander around mix around with her residents, I guess. So I guess she was a little bit more lucky than some people. Some people were confined to the room. But we would try to see her through the window, and she was just like, she wouldn't have it. She was like, I'm not an animal in a cage.
Yeah.
I'm not a zoo. And when we started to go back into the home, everyone had declined. You could just see them. They were just shells of people. Um, my mom is very strong and she got out of it, but some of them, a lot of them, I think just died of the social isolation and never mind the virus itself. Yeah.
Totally agree. I think a lot of it was just the social aspect, and like I said, the boredom and the depression, and you're already in your advanced years, and you've lived your life, and so I might as well just go. There's little reason to stick around is often the attitude. I'm sure you've heard people say
Yeah.
things like that too.
Yeah. Mhm.
So you talked a little bit about your mom. I know you've one of the reasons why and how you ended up here was because of all the work you did with your mother. And if you like, feel free to talk a little bit about that. If not, that's fine too. I leave it to you because I'm sure it's not an easy conversation.
Well, my mom has lived now for 12 years in a long-term care facility. She does have dementia, and we had to put her in because she was wandering. We just couldn't keep her safe. Um, she also had, or has, um, different kinds of arthritises, fibromyalgia, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. Um, as I was one of six children and I was the last. I'm sure I was a surprise, although my mom always said how happy she was to have me. So she was in her later years when I was born. So I saw my mom as a very strong lady for sure, but sick lady. And she had multiple surgeries. She needed a lot of care. And that was something that really inspired me to be the nurse and caring person that I am. And something that she was also a caregiver, and she is a caregiver. Um, that she didn't take care of herself very well. And that's probably a big reason why she got to where she was. And that was a big learning for me too, not to give it all away and to really take care of yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good lesson for everyone, especially for those people who are nurturers by nature or
Mhm.
empaths, where their mission in life is to care for and save everyone else, often to the detriment of themselves. So it's a good
Yes.
message where we all need to stop and think and breathe a little bit more deeply and don't feel guilty if you're taking care of yourself today and by saying no to somebody else, right?
Yes. Yes, for sure. For sure. Mhm.
And how is your mother doing these days? I'm sure she's doing better with your involvement.
Yeah, I mean, I do Reiki with her. If she's sometimes I can tell she doesn't want it. She doesn't talk so much anymore. But she's just really an inspiration. I really truly believe that I've gotten a lot of my talents from her. And the reason why she's still in that nursing home is that she just sends out so much love to, especially the staff. Everyone calls her Mama. Um, but they don't call all the residents that. That's kind of her special name. And even though she does find it hard to talk and can't really get around too much, she still is giving lots of love out. So
That must be so frustrating for her being not able to physically share her emotions. It's
mhm.
almost like trapped inside, but she still has so many to give to others, right? So much to give. It must be frustrating for her. Do you see that sometimes?
For sure, for sure, for sure. But we all have purpose. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
exactly it. I mean, many of us have um, grandparents or older parents who may be not in the best condition. Um, what are some things that we can do to help their lives out or help their day, which is a little better, to make it a little more enjoyable for them? Because often they're in pain, or maybe, like I said, maybe mentally bored or depressed. what are some things that we can do to help our own parents or grandparents out in similar
Yeah.
situations?
So if you can take time to connect with them, just time, it doesn't have to be anything really hard or difficult. And when you are with them, to be present, put away the phone. If you can turn off the TV, ask them, how was winter when you were little, right? So, or whatever they want to talk about and to reminisce, you know, and if they're not into meditation or breathing or all that, I mean, if they're having a hard time, you can just sit with them, put your hand on them and just breathe. And it's, it just will calm them down and give them connection too. Yeah.
And just be there to listen, right? We're all, especially the younger, when you're younger, you want to help them. Like you're so desperate to help them. You want to provide solutions, but sometimes they don't want solutions. Sometimes they're just at peace with their current state, and often they just want to vent or just have someone to listen, right? We feel like we need to always come back with an explanation or a rationale, or what if you just did that? Sometimes just listening to them, and in addition to holding their hand and or just talking about their day or their childhood, kind of avoids all of that, which can be a uncomfortable conversation for them because they don't want to be fixed. They just want to be left alone sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just listening to them. I mean, if they're in pain, they're in pain. That's a hard thing to do. And, listening about and just sitting next to them, and that touch is so important. That connection, that's so helpful. Is It'll do amazing things for them. And if you can distract them with conversation, and actually you might actually learn something. It might be not just good for them, but good for you too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. We still have so much to learn from our seniors, and we don't take the time to, like you said, to sit down and to ask and to converse and to listen. And they have so much to give. They've seen a lot. They've been
Mhm.
through a lot, and each day for them is a lot. And so they need our love and compassion, and we need to learn from that.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, we can get so much support ourselves from our seniors in knowing what they've been through, and hearing what they've been through will certainly help us from what we're going through right now.
We're
Everything
going to
going.
be in their shoes, down the road. So
Mhm.
we want it to be what how we're talking about now, where we're breathing and we're meditating, and we're eating right, and we're minimizing the meds and maximizing all the healthy habits.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
We talked
Mhm.
a lot about seniors, but what about everyone else? If somebody, so do you do virtual sessions? I guess because you're located in Southern Ontario, but for people across Canada, can you work with them too?
Yeah, yeah, I have Zoom. Yeah, I
Okay,
do.
perfect.
Mm.
And I'm going to leave the last message to you. Anything that we haven't talked about yet, or a message that you want to share with folks?
Um, just take time to get in the moment, to breathe, and get some connection. If you can find, people that resonate with you, um, go outside, have a walk. Even if you're in the city and it's not that exciting, you can go out and find a little bush or something and connect to that nature. And it's amazing that if you take the time, what you will see, the birds and the trees, and it can bring you so much healing and joy for sure. Mhm.
That's a wonderful message, particularly even though it's winter, it's still, there's lots of snow, and it's never a bad time to get outside and get some fresh air.
Mhm. Yes.
For people who are looking to learn more about you and your offerings, they can go to your website, which is called.
Holistic RN. Yeah, www.HolisticRN.ca.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Margarita. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. And I hope that you continue to do very well and that your business is thriving, because I know that there are lots and lots of people looking for folks just like you in terms of not just the what you do, but the how you do it.
Thank you very much for your time, and I hope everyone has a blessed day.
Thank you. We'll talk again soon.